Welcome to the Temple of Scrolls, where documents dating back to the beginning of time are recorded and kept. These scrolls contain the sum of our wisdom from the past. Come, I will show you one. Herein are tales to advise both powerful kings and their lowly subjects. They are fables of an animal nature, strangely similar to its human counterpart. These tales of human greed and inhuman punishment are told as lessons for you to learn. Choose one now and listen.
Play all the fables. How the fables were told. The Fox, the Rooster, and the Dog.
One morning just before dawn, a fox was slinking through a chicken coop, looking for something tasty to dine on. He saw a rooster sitting on a high fence. The fox thought, there's a large and tasty main course, and I know a simple way to get him. So the fox approached the rooster and said, "My friend, have you heard the good news?" The clever rooster turned his head and cast a suspicious eye on the fox. "Good news?" With a hungry gleam in his eye, the fox replied, "King Lion has declared a peace for the whole kingdom. From now on, no animal may harm another. We will all live together in peace and harmony." The clever rooster knew the fox was trying to trick him and came up with a plan of his own. "Well then, let's share the good news with my friend. He's coming this way." What friend?" asked the fox, straining to look, although he could see nothing. "Just the master's dog. You know him. The wild, ferocious one. He must be so happy he doesn't have to chase away foxes anymore." Quickly, the fox trotted away from the farmyard as the rooster called after him. "But what's the matter? You have nothing to fear from the dog now that peace has been decreed. Stay and congratulate him." But the fox answered, "I'd love to, my friend, but perhaps the dog hasn't heard yet of King Lion's peace." And with that, the fox disappeared from view. The rooster crowed loudly, for he knew that cunning, like that of the fox, often outwits itself. Cunning often outwits itself. Cunning means cleverness at fooling others, but the very words you use to outwit others may be used to trick you too.
The Fox and the Stork.
There was a time when the fox and the stork were good friends, or at least they seemed to be. One day the fox invited the stork to his home for dinner. The evening went well until the meal was served. As a joke, the fox put some soup in a shallow dish. Laughed the fox to himself. He could easily drink the soup from his dish, but the stork could only wet the tip of his beak. He couldn't drink any of the soup. My humblest apologies, friend Stork," said the fox. "It appears that I have served you a dish which you do not care for." The stork replied, "No problem, fox. Say, why don't we have dinner at my house tomorrow?" The fox agreed, and the following evening he called at the stork's house. But when the meal was served, the fox was surprised to find his dinner inside a long-necked jar with a narrow opening. All he could do was lick the outside. Finally, the stork spoke. "I see you're having trouble eating, but unlike you, I will not apologize for my dinner. You cannot complain if others serve you in the same way as you serve them." You cannot complain if others serve you in the same way as you serve them. If you treat others badly, they will treat you badly in return. For our own behavior is the example by which others learn.
The Wolf and the Crane.
A large, hungry wolf was looking for his dinner. When he came across a dead animal lying on the plain, ferociously the wolf tore into it. He was enjoying his meal when a small bone caught in his throat. In great pain, the wolf began to choke. "Help! Someone! Please help me!" But no one would help. Not the ox. Not the donkey. Not the lion. Desperate, afraid he was dying, the wolf came upon a crane. "Please, I beg you, if you can remove this bone from my throat, I will give you anything you ask." The crane thought for a moment, then replied, "Very well, I will try. Open your jaw as wide as you can." The wolf opened wide, and the crane stuck her long beak into the wolf's jaw. Carefully, the crane removed the bone. Relieved, the wolf took a long drink of water from the pond. The crane waited and then approached the wolf. "And now, if you please, I'll take that reward you promised." But the wolf bared his sharp teeth and growled. "You have put your head inside of the mouth of a wolf and lived to tell about it. There should be no greater reward for you than that." And so the wolf left, as the crane realized that she could expect no justice from the wicked. Expect no justice from the wicked. To seek justice means to want fair treatment, but it is foolish to expect fairness from wicked people. Don't be surprised if they treat you badly, for the wicked have no gratitude or kindness to give.
The Shepherd Boy.
The life of a shepherd was a lonely one for a young boy who watched over a flock of sheep. Eager for excitement and attention, the boy came up with a plan. He ran toward the village and began shouting, "Wolf! Wolf! Help! Wolf!" The villagers rushed outside to help him. The shepherd boy was pleased and explained that his loud warning had frightened the wolf away. A few days later, the shepherd boy was bored again. Remembering his prank, he rushed down toward the village and cried out, "Wolf! Wolf! Help!" Again, the villagers hurried out to help the boy. This time they followed him to the pasture, but they found no wolf there. This happened again and again and again. The villagers were becoming suspicious. Why were none of the other flocks being bothered? They began to think the boy was playing tricks on them. But one day, as the boy was tending his sheep, a real wolf was attracted to the flock. The boy couldn't believe his eyes. The shepherd rushed toward the village, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Wolf! Wolf! Help!" But the villagers thought the boy was tricking them again, so no one came forward to help, no matter how much the boy cried wolf. "Wolf! Wolf! Wolf!" Finally, he met some villagers and convinced them to follow him to where the flock was. But it was too late. The wolf had killed all the sheep. Angrily, the boy criticized the people of the village. "Why didn't anyone help me when I called?" That's when one of the men stepped forward and explained, "Don't you know, boy, a liar would not be believed even when he speaks the truth." A liar will not be believed even when he speaks the truth. Someone who lies or who causes a false alarm is said to have cried wolf. Cry wolf, and you run the risk that your voice will not be listened to, even when it really needs to be heard.
The Fox and the Grapes.
A hungry fox strolled through an orchard one day. When he looked up, he couldn't believe what he saw. Grapes, delicious, sweet, purple grapes, the fox sighed. He backed up and then ran and jumped to grab some grapes, but he missed. Still, the fox thought, those grapes are worth a second try. So he jumped as high as he could, but still he missed the grapes. The fox jumped again, and still again. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not reach them. Hot and tired, even hungrier than before, the fox finally gave up, saying, "I'm sure those grapes were sour." With that, he lifted his nose in the air and trotted away, for it is easy to despise what you cannot get. It is easy to despise what you cannot get. Despise means to scorn or hate. Sometimes when people cannot have what they want, they tell themselves that they never wanted it in the first place.
The Lion and the Mouse.
A majestic lion was napping in the noonday sun. But as he snoozed, a small mouse who was walking by decided to use the lion's back as a shortcut. Near the end of the mouse's journey, the lion awoke with a start. "What's this?" he declared, and with one swift movement clamped his gigantic paw down on the tail of the mouse as he tried to run away. "This will make a tasty snack," said the lion. "Not a full meal, mind you, but a snack." Just as the lion was about to eat the mouse, the tiny creature spoke up. "Oh, please, Your Majesty, please release me. I promise I will never forget your generosity, and perhaps someday I will be able to return the favor." The lion's mouth began to twitch, and he burst into laughter. "Well, That's something I'd like to see. A tiny mouse doing a favor for a mighty lion. You have amused me so greatly, I will let you go. So off with you. And with that, he released the little mouse, who scampered off into the jungle. The lion soon forgot about the mouse and went on with his business. But one day, the mighty beast found himself caught in a trap set by hunters. A fine catch, but we must take him to our king alive, said one of the hunters. So they left to find a wagon to carry the lion. Quite by chance, the little mouse happened to be passing by. Help me, please, the lion cried. Hearing the lion's plea, the mouse rushed forward and began to chew on the ropes. Quick! Hurry! Before they come back! Pleaded the lion. The mouse chewed and chewed until finally the rope broke, setting the lion free. Thank you, my small friend. I told you I would return the favor someday, Your Majesty, and I have. Sometime later, the hunters returned and were amazed by what they saw. They could not understand how the lion had escaped, nor did they understand that for creatures large or small, one good deed deserves another. One good deed deserves another. A good deed is something helpful you do for others. Remember, help others and they will want to help you.
The Frog and the Ox.
One misty morning, a frog, frantic with excitement, leaped onto a lily pad beside his friend. I don't believe what I just saw. It was the most awful monster. It was as big as this whole pond. It had gigantic feet and a tail as long as a tree. It had a nose so big it cast a shadow over me. It had huge eyes and horns as sharp as knives. I mean, the thing was a monster. The friend comforted the hysterical frog. That was no monster. That was the farmer's ox. Actually, it's only a little bigger than I am. I could easily make myself that big. Watch. And with that, the frog blew himself out, expanding as much as he could. See? Was he this big? Oh no, he was much bigger than that. So the frog huffed and puffed and blew himself even bigger. He was this big, right? Bigger, much bigger. So again the frog took a deep breath until his body swelled out to its very limits, and then he said, No, I'm surely not this big. Believe me, he was bigger. And so the frog took another deep breath and exploded, proving that self-conceit can lead to self-destruction. Self-conceit can lead to self-destruction. A person who is conceited has too high an opinion of his own abilities. Know yourself. Never exaggerate what you are.
The Peacock and Hera.
Hearing a nightingale's lovely voice, a peacock became discontented with his own lot. He went to the goddess Hera and complained that he had been dealt an unfair place in life. Hera was surprised and asked, "What is your complaint, Peacock?" The peacock spread his plumage and answered, "You gave the nightingale the loveliest voice imaginable. Everyone loves to hear her sing. And when I open my mouth, everyone laughs at the horrible sounds I make. I tell you, Hera, it is not fair." Hera thought about the peacock's complaint, and with great kindness replied, "It is true the nightingale was given a lovely voice, but you have been given great beauty. Everyone treasures seeing your colorful plumage. Isn't that right?" The peacock just shook his head and answered, "What good is physical beauty if it's not accompanied by a beautiful voice?" Wise Hera thought a while and answered, "Peacock, you need to do some thinking. Every creature has its own special quality. As you noted, the nightingale has a melodic voice. The eagle has his great physical strength. The swan, gracefulness. The dove, innocence and purity. My friend, you have great beauty. If you want to be happy, you must learn to be contented, for you cannot be first in everything." You cannot be first in everything. Everyone has a special talent, but no one is good at everything. Do not envy others or moan about what is wrong with you. Be contented with the way you are special.
Androcles and the Lion.
There was a slave named Androcles who fled his cruel master. As Androcles hurried through the forest, he came across a lion laying back on his haunches and moaning. Androcles was about to run off when he realized the lion was hurt. "Help me, please," said the lion, holding out his paw. Androcles came closer and saw that the paw had a large thorn embedded in it. It was swollen and bleeding. "I can't stand it, please have mercy," the lion pleaded. Androcles pulled out the thorn and used a piece of his tunic as a bandage. In a matter of minutes, the lion regained his strength and licked Androcles' hand in appreciation. "Thank you, kind sir. Thank you so much," said the grateful lion. The lion led the exhausted Androcles to his cave. Every day out of friendship, he brought meat to the escaped slave. But one day, soldiers spotted the lion and followed him home. The soldiers captured both the lion and the escaped slave who was in hiding. Imprisoned, Androcles was sentenced to be thrown to a lion as an example to all other slaves. And the lion he would be thrown to was not fed for days ahead of time to make him ferociously hungry. At last, the day came for Androcles to meet a lion in the arena. Everyone was there, including the emperor and his court. Androcles was sent to the center of the ring. The starving lion was let out of his pen. He rushed towards Androcles, his stomach roaring with hunger as the crowd cheered him on. Suddenly, Androcles and the lion were face to face. But then the lion recognized Androcles. He fell to his knees and began to lick his friend's hand. And Androcles patted the lion's head. Amazed at what he was seeing, the emperor asked that the slave and the lion be brought before him. Whereupon Androcles told the emperor the story of what had happened between him and the lion. "So you see, I saved him from great pain, and today he saved me. For that I am most grateful." The emperor listened and thought for a while, realizing he had only one choice. He granted Androcles a life of complete freedom, and the lion he let go back to the forest because, as the emperor wisely knew, gratitude is the sign of noble souls. Gratitude is the sign of noble souls. Gratitude is a feeling of thanks for a favor received. Noble means that you have a good inner nature. A good person feels grateful when someone does him a good deed, and so returns the favor as soon as he can.
The Donkey in the Lion's Skin.
A donkey found the skin of a lion which some hunters had laid in the sun to dry. "Hee-haw," the donkey thought. "I could have some fun with this." So he put on the skin and headed through the forest. And what an effect the lion skin had! Bears and foxes ran when they saw him. Deer and wolves fled for their lives. Animals which had never feared a donkey before quaked and howled when they saw him coming. The donkey was so pleased with his trick, he lifted his head high and brayed, "Hee-haw!" twice. "Hee-haw!" The other animals came out of their hiding places no longer afraid. The wolf spoke for all of them. "See here, you scared us out of our wits. Now we see it was just a silly donkey." The donkey was so surprised that he jumped back and the lion's skin slid off of him. And the others shouted, "A silly donkey! A silly donkey!" And they began to laugh. The donkey hung his head low and wondered, "How did they know it was me?" And the fox replied, "We heard your voice, you donkey. Fine clothes may disguise a fool, but silly words will unmask him." Fine clothes may disguise a fool, but silly words will unmask him. It is not important how you look or what you wear. It's what you think or say that matters. Say something smart and you reveal your intelligence. But say something silly and you will look foolish no matter how well you dress.
The Dog and the Wolf.
A wolf was very hungry, so hungry and unable to find food that he was close to death. But then he met a dog near the edge of the forest. The dog could not help commenting on the wolf's condition. "Cousin, it is not surprising to see you like this, especially considering the wild life you lead. If you would just work steadily as I do, you would have food given to you on a regular basis." The wolf considered what the dog had said. "It sounds appealing to me, cousin. But how would I find a place to work?" The dog replied, "That is no problem. I'll take you to my master and the two of us will share the work." The wolf agreed, dreaming of the meals to come. But as the dog led the wolf closer to town, they stopped to cross a stream. The wolf noticed that the fur on the dog's neck was worn away. Curious, the wolf asked about it. "How did it happen, cousin?" The dog replied, "It is nothing really. It is where the collar is put on my neck at night when I'm chained up. It chafes at first, but you get used to it." The wolf was astounded. "Used to it? Being chained against my will is not something I care to get used to. Goodbye, cousin dog." And with that, the wolf went off, knowing that it is better to starve as a free creature than to live as a well-fed slave. It is better to starve as a free creature than to live as a well-fed slave. A slave is a person owned by someone else. Like the dog, he may know he will be fed every day, but in return he cannot make his own decisions. Never fall into the trap of letting others take care of you at the cost of your freedom.
The Crow and the Pitcher.
A crow was so thirsty, he was close to death. So when he came across a pitcher, he could hardly believe his good fortune. If that pitcher has water, my life is saved, thought the crow. But on close examination, he discovered that there was only a little water inside. The poor crow's beak was not nearly long enough to reach in, no matter how hard he tried. So close, yet so far away from getting what he wanted, the crow tried desperately to push over the pitcher, but he was not strong enough. The poor, parched crow was about to give up when he had a brainstorm. He took a pebble and dropped it into the pitcher. Then he dropped another pebble and another. It took time, but the level of the water began to rise. The crow's patience paid off as the water came to the top. He quenched his thirst and saved his life. Many times in the years to come, the crow told the story to his friends, always explaining that necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity is the mother of invention. In times of trouble, it is necessary to come up with our most ingenious solutions. Need something badly enough, and you will surely put in the effort to get it.
The Sliding Puzzles. The animal characters. Crow. The crow is always involved in getting his food and water, and he can be very clever about it. Nightingale. The nightingale is most wonderfully talented, but her talent is sometimes resented, for human nature is as full of envy as admiration. Frogs. Frogs are depicted as foolish and vain. They think they're more than they are and also less than they could be. Dog. Dogs are greedy for food, even to the point of being willing to be enslaved to get it. Crane. A crane is very helpful, but too trusting. Donkey. A donkey represents a foolish, stupid type who doesn't realize that he can't fool people into thinking he's smarter than he really is. Lion. The lion is the majestic king of beasts, representing both the nobility and awesome power of rulers. He evokes fear and obedience in others, sometimes using his power ruthlessly to achieve his ends. But he can suffer and be vulnerable too, needing the help of even his least powerful subjects. Stork. The stork appears as a very clever bird. Fox. The fox is always clever, especially in his pursuit of food. Sometimes his cleverness backfires on him, but no matter, his shrewd pursuit of what he wants will continue. Peacock. The beautiful peacock is self-centered and vain. His intense self-concern has him always wanting more without thinking about how much he already has. Wolf. The wolf is most often a predator, preying upon the weak for his own advantage. But never will the wolf allow himself to be preyed upon, even if it means his starving. Mouse. Mice represent ordinary people. Although small and threatened by the size and power of larger animals, mice can, when called upon, be thoughtful, dependable, and even heroic. Rooster. The rooster is crafty, using his sharp wit to outthink more threatening animals. How the fables were told. For several thousand years, fables have been told in different ways by many different people. Indeed, the word fable comes from a Latin word for telling, and the earliest fables were told rather than written. Storytellers memorized the fables that they had heard from other storytellers or had made up themselves. We can imagine that with every telling, each fable was embellished in some way, as favorite fables were told and retold. In this way were the earliest fables passed on. Whether Aesop was the creator of his own fables, or whether he was merely the first person to collect those which had become popular, we will probably never know. But whatever the truth of their beginning, the lessons in Aesop's fables are consistent. They stress common sense, moderation, and worldly wisdom, with an emphasis on how to save one's own skin while remaining on good terms with those in power. Before the invention of printing, the fables were passed on in many different ways. Some were illustrated in ceramics, others in handwritten manuscripts. The first known written versions of Aesop's tales were those translated into Latin by a Roman writer in the 1st century A.D., some 700 years after Aesop's time. Other versions of the fables were preserved in tapestry, cloth with pictures woven into it. The famous Bayeux tapestry, an 11th century French work, includes illustrations from Aesop's fables in its border. In 15th century England, a fable appeared in Chaucer's famous Canterbury Tales, the story of the vain rooster Chanticleer. In 15th century Italy, illustrated versions of old fables written in Greek appeared in the Medici Library. Finally, the invention of the printing press allowed many copies of books to be made, and Aesop's fables began to appear in Germany, Italy, and Holland. The third English illustrated book ever printed was a version of Aesop's fables by William Caxton. This 1484 version is decorated with over 200 woodcuts illustrating the fables. In the 1700s, Jean de La Fontaine, the famous French writer, wrote a book of fables in which he downplayed the morals aspect. Some of La Fontaine's fables were adapted from Aesop, while others were his own creation. In the 18th century, Lessing, a well-known German playwright and critic, wrote animal fables putting back in the morals which La Fontaine had taken out. Russia's greatest writer of fables, Ivan Krylov, wrote his tales around the same time, and his stories are still popular today. Hundreds of versions of Aesop's fables followed, with illustrations ranging from watercolors to hand-colored engravings and lithographs from the world's great artists. Some books of Aesop are meant for children, while others are geared toward adults. Even today, new Aesop versions are published every year, and whenever new forms of publishing develop, such as compact disc interactive, a mixture of computers and television, you're sure to find a version of Aesop's fables being created to convey the wit and wisdom of the ancients to the audiences of today.
The meanings of the stories are clear. Take heed of the wisdom in these fables, or suffer the consequences. And remember, this temple of scrolls is always open. I'll be waiting for you here.